What is up, guys? We are on to Earth now, and there's a lot of cards, so we're just going to jump right into this. If you didn't see my previous video, it's all the neutral stuff. Next video will be, I forget. Anywho, Earth. Let's just jump into it. It's a lot of cards to go through. My last video was 30 minutes. Let's try to cut that down. Drataya, 2/4. Whenever any player casts Ambrosia, you can draw two cards. This card is I'm on the fence with it. Now, if you watched our prototype tournament, the finals, this card like absolutely saved the day because the player who played it, which Eagle the Duck or Jacob, he played Drataya and ambrosia'd and just drew a ton of cards, got a bunch of life back, and just clutched out a victory with it to become the champion of our first tournament. Will that be good enough in constructed play for this card to make a dent? I don't know. But man, is it a fun deck, and I think it will see a lot of play. It might not be the S tier deck, the tier 0, the A tier, the S tier, the tier 1. It'll definitely, no matter, I guarantee this deck is going to be at least a tier 2 or like a B tier deck. It's going to be up there, always trying to compete. I can't guarantee it's always going to do its job because there's only two cards in the Ambrosia. I'm going to call it Fruit Tribal. And the Fruit Tribal deck is Drataya, Ladogon are your payoffs, where Ambrosia and Golden Apple Discord are your activators. So this card, best part about it though, is everybody plays Ambrosia, so you might just passively draw cards from your opponent's Ambrosia, which is nice. Moving on to the next card, which is Ladogon. As I mentioned, Fruit Tribal. They 2 cost 7/8. When a player casts Ambrosia or Golden Apple Discord for Ladogon, you can target and destroy a card. So this basically turns your Ambrosia, if you cast Ambrosia with this out, into return up to 3 spirits, earthquake something, pretty good. If you play Golden Apple this card, your Golden Apple is discarding a card from your opponent's hand, earthquaking something to destroy it, milling a card. Now it's just good. Ladogon's just good. If anything's going to be making Fruit Tribal a thing, it's going to be Ladogon because 7/8 are solid stats for a 2-drop, and that's a really good effect. Yeah, it's a really good effect. How consistent will it be is going to be how strong this deck is. Again, I mentioned with Drataya just a second ago, it'll be at least a tier 2 deck. 100%. Ladogon, Drataya, Fruit Tribal will be a deck. How good will it be? I don't know. Then we have Rummagem's our next card. If you know anything about Rummagem, is when this card was first announced and we were test playing it, it is what caused Mono Earth to be a deck. Straight up, this card does so much for that. It's a 4/4, which is solid stats. It has the second best stat line in a 1-drop, with a total of 8 attack and defense combined, where the next best card would be Aramar Wind. We'll go over that card when we get to Wind. And with Foloi Forest in play, which Earth deck runs Foloi Forest for Centaurbor potential shenanigans and such, it's a 5/5, which 5/5 is an insane stat line with Foloi Forest. You get to replace itself and go search for something, so you probably grab your Tectaurus or another Rummagem with this card. So it replaces itself with another one of itself or a stronger card. And it really does a lot to sit on the board, not be threatening, but keep your card advantage engine going. It's going to be a toolbox piece for a lot of your Earth decks, like the Fruit Tribal deck. You're going to run the Rummagem. You're going to go get your Drataya with it, 100%. And then in the turn after that, you're going to play Drataya and Ambrosia and draw cards and get some life back. Really good card. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I could talk for days what you get with this card. You get any 1-drop in Earth. We'll get to those cards as we go, and I think you'll see synergies just in Earth as we go. Scavagem is its big brother. It does the same thing, except better. And it's a 4/6, so its stat line is really weak, but that effect is really good. You can ascend to Scavagem, and you expend an Earth in order to search your deck for up to 2 cards. The enchantment costs 1 Earth or 2 Earth, and add them to your hand. You go get 2 Earthquakes. You go get Earthquake and a Rummagem. You go get another Scavagem and some Earth. Like, this card is a card that's going to just get better and better as we see more 1 and 2s in Earth that are good. And it's going to be a nice little you're playing Control Earth. You run Scavagem, you're playing a Foloi Forest Earth, power toughness deck. It'll be 7 defense. That'll probably live. and then you maybe ascend into something else. I think this card's really good, especially since Earthquake is in Earth, and it's a 2 cost, so you can just rip it with Scavagem and go from there. Far into the future, this might be a combo piece. You get 2 Earth cards and win games somehow. I don't know. But Scavagem, I think, has a super, super strong effect with a poor stat line that is almost good enough to kind of balance it out. Searching cards and any cards with minimal restrictions, always great effect. Next, we have our buddy Spinymph. So 1/5 for 1 Earth. And when you, or sorry, not when you cast, when this Spinymph is destroyed in battle, you can cast it as an artifact, empowering the Celestial that destroyed it with the effect. The empowered Celestial has a 0 base attack. So this card is kind of the don't attack me, bro. It doesn't do much except kind of say, don't attack me, please, please, maybe, hope. It's definitely a good card. I would be I would not be surprised to see this card being played in a bunch of Earth decks as like a one of that you go get with Rummagem against certain matchups like attack aggro. Um, the 0 base attack is the first kind of stat buff that will get applied. So it's, I believe, I'm not even gonna, I might get it wrong, but I know for a fact that that 0 base attack before any other buffs are applied is the first thing that happens. So unless will go to 0 base attack and then any other buffs would apply after the fact, which makes it okay. It's not going to constantly reset it back to 0 where every time it gets that buff it goes to 0, but it's fine. The only negative of this card other than that is just you have to recast it. So you will cast it as an artifact empowering an Elestral, so you have to basically get a new spirit with it. So that's toss up. I don't see Spinymph seeing a ton of play. Just maybe a fun little tech card if attacking aggro becomes super big, like Pantera. You put this card in front of Pantera, Pantera just goes, what do I do? It's so tiny and scary. So yeah, it's a fun card. I don't think it's gonna see a ton of play, but it'll definitely. I'd understand why it's played. Spinosect. This card, I don't think we'll see a ton of play, except in some weird niche stuff. It's a good card. Like the fact that you're not gonna ever lose additional spirits for being destroyed because you're attacking from defense position. So if they attack you, it just gets destroyed. It's not the end of the world. Um, Ironically, it's a great counter to Pantera because your Pantera decks won't be able to crash all the little guys into it, and you can just attack from defense. Um, there's not much to say to it. Attacks from defense, so it's effectively a 9/9 when in defense. I guess it's all right. I definitely want to make a deck with it. Don't get me wrong. Like this with like Bag of Winds and Scythe of Demeter would be hilarious. But I don't think it's gonna see a ton of high competition play. It'll be like a tier 3 deck of like weird defense shenanigans, maybe. Moving on to Clovie. I'm sorry, Clovie, you're bad. You're not bad, but you're bad because there's other options. I'm not playing you when I can play Drataya and Rummagem and Pandcine and Girafflora. There's a lot of other options. I'm sorry, Clovie. Move on. I'm sorry. Just guys, you're just probably not playing this card ever. Unless you have some crazy Nexus strategy going on. It's not going to do you too much. At least right now. But if we get a ton of Nexus cards that like do some crazy Nexus combo stuff, it'll draw you a bunch of cards. Cool. Play that deck. That sounds like fun. Any deck that's not doing specifically that, don't play it. Sakurasaur. It's a 6/8, so got a nice little stat buff for 2 Earth. And you can expend 1 to draw 2 instead of 2 to draw 2. This card is actually really good now. 6/8, great stat line in Earth deck. Again, we're probably running Foloi Forest in Earth because Earth really likes to have that extra stat point for a lot of its Elestrals. So it potentially is a 7/9 when it comes into play that lets you Nectar Gods for 1. If Nectar Gods was 1, you'd see 3 of in every single deck for all of time until it got banned. This is a great card now. I really like it. Is it going to be in every Earth deck? No. It's going to be kind of sitting in some of those Earth Temper decks. It's like a 1 or 2 of maybe that go into a long game. So it's not going to be ubiquitous in every Earth deck, but it's going to see play now. Like it actually, look, it's going to see play now. You did good. Good job, Sakurasaur. You grew up. Yeah, that's all I have to say, Sakurasaur. It got better. It's like a B card now. It's no longer like an F minus. It's a solid like B plus. Tectaurus, y'all already know this card Always puts in work. It is a huge one-drop attacker. It's going to just sit on the board and say, come at me. It's always going to be at least a 4-3 when it comes into play, unless you misenchant it. Throw Foloi Forest in the mix. It's now a 6-3. Like, or sorry, it's going to be a 4-2. Potentially be a 6-3 of Foloi Forest if that's the only other card. You're probably running some Demeters in there or something, or, you know, this plus Scythe is a huge, like 9, I think, or 8 attack alone. Like, big card. It's this plus Rummagem is part of like that mono earth, like kind of stompy, I guess you could say, if you're a Magic player, deck strategy. And it's a great card. It's simple, it's strong, and your opponent has to kind of deal with it in some way, or it'll just sit on the board and get buff. Good card. Barabog. It's in the earth pile, so it's going to be here, even though I know it's hybrid, just like Spinosect was. I think this card's going to see a lot more play in water decks than earth decks, because earth doesn't really have a place for it. It's a 2-cost hybrid earth water, 3/7. When your opponent casts Celestial or Rune with earth or water, without earth or water, expend 1. I'm trying to make this work in a Tadpuff burn deck. Will that work? I don't know. This card, the best part about it is that it's just sits there and repeat burns your opponent if they're trying to go through a bunch of nogs and drops elites and stuff, and they're not playing earth and water. If they're playing earth and water, you take this out of your main deck right away and sideboard something else in. So situationally, against in the future when we have the other 3 elements in roughly 75% of decks, it's okay. Maybe like 60% of decks, so there's a lot of splashing colors. It's an okay card. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's bad. It's solid middle of the road. It'll do what it's trying to do very easily, and you can get it out with a Tadpuff very easily, which helps it. If Tadpuff didn't exist and there's no way to get it out early on turn 1 or to special it into play in a sense, it wouldn't see any play. With Tadpuff and stuff, it'll see some play. Maybe. It's a fun card. I love the card's effect. It's just from a power ranking. It's not a huge power ranking. And again, like I just mentioned, it's only good because of other cards, which means it's on its own not a great card. But it might get there. Maybe. I don't want to say no, but maybe in the future there's like, you know, a Humbus combo super fire mono deck that you just play Barabog turn 1, your opponent goes, all right, next game 2, because they won't be able to Humbus combo or something. And when I say Humbus combo, I mean they're gonna just combo play a ton of runes back to back to back to play it. Titanostalk. Problem card that got nerfed quite a bit, thankfully. So as long as it's enchanted, your opponent plays with their hand revealed. It's a 1/3 for 1. Don't underestimate the ability to see your opponent's hand while it's in play. So if you know anything about our kind of community tournaments that we ran as just like some testing playground stuff, there's a deck that ran 12 ELESTRALs, all 1-drops, and 28 runes. Those ELESTRALs are just there to poke at the end of the game to finish out the game, while the runes did all the work. This card goes right in that deck to tell the rune controller what they're stopping and when. It's a great card. If it was a 2/5 like Dan originally leaked, it would be literally probably the best card in the game, because it would be 5 defense in Earth, so it's basically 6 defense because you're playing Foley, so it's not getting attacked over, and you just get perfect information to your opponent. I spoke a lot about this card in my previous video on the leak, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but if you do want to know why it's really strong, go check out my video where it's just leaks for days. Great card. The nerf is very much warranted. It'll see not 100% play anymore. It'll see play in pretty specific control decks now, and not a ton else. Maybe is one of with Rummagems for certain matchups, but yeah, it's not going to see a ton of play now because its stats are garbage now. It's a 1/3. Yeah, goodbye. Equilynx, one of the only cards that Nexus that escaped unchanged. It's really strong but not broken. It's a 4/3 for 1. You can Nexus to Earth. When you do, you can target and destroy a rune on your opponent's board or your board. I don't know why you do that. It's great. You know, again, it's got 4/3 for 4 attack is solid stats for 1-drop. You can destroy some runes when it comes into play, so even if your opponent like poison tips this, you can still potentially destroy something on their board. Again, with all the Nexus things, requires a little bit of setup to have something in play to Nexus to or off of. But Equilynx really closes out a lot of games because it'll just disrupt the back line, get medium size with a Foloi Forest in play, or just close out some stuff and just go pop to whatever shield you have in the back row or something and swing in. Great card. It'll see a lot of play in Earth. It's the only Earth option to destroy runes, and it's a good option to destroy runes. You know anything about the Nexus ELESTRALs? They're all great for what they do. Idolo, or Viserys, if you want to call it Viserys, is a 4-2 that is basically a 5-2 because it gains 1 attack for every Idolo on the field, and when it destroys an Elestral in battle, you can special cast another Idolo from your hand or deck into defense position. This card's a 5-2 because it counts itself. When you destroy something, it'll then become a 6-2, which makes it a little sticky on board if it's your turn 1, you went second. And it combos with Altar of the Stars a little bit, where you can play this, attack, Altar of the Stars flips, and basically put your defense position Viserys that you just special casted into attack from defense, attack with that, and get another Viserys out. Now you have some 7 attack Viserys, ready to go. It's a strong card. It's not a busted card. As I said when I reviewed this card, if you looked at the original text, it was attack position. Would have made this card broken. Summons in defense position. Solid card. It's Earth's 5 attacker with upside. I definitely see it seeing a decent amount of play. And it's kind of like your option instead of Tectaurus. You might get Viserys if you can't stick your runes in play for Tectaurus to get pumped. You'd stick a Viserys in play and pump it with your Elestrals. And maybe your opponent doesn't have enough removal to deal with the Elestrals on board. Pandcine is our mascot, in a sense, of the community, because the community helped build this card up. 1/4 for 1. You can disenchant 1 Earth from this Pandcine to return an Invoke rune from your underworld to your hand. This card, right now, is okay. I think with some of our Invoke runes like drops, it's gotten better. And this is a card that will consistently see play and consistently be better and better as time goes on. Your best targets with this are usually Eruption, Ambrosia. Probably drops a Leaf now. Sometimes Laurels. And then, as I mentioned, the counter control deck. It's a great card to get your runes back that are Invoke runes that you're going to use to kind of keep going. 1/4 is okay stat line. You play in defense all the time. Maybe you have a way to get an extra Earth on it so you can keep it alive. I have lost a game to my opponent constantly looping a Pandcine, where every turn they're able to get an Earth onto it with their enchant action, Ambrosia, disenchant off Pandcine, get their Ambrosia back, basically netting 1 spirit every turn, and we couldn't break each other's board, so he just went back to 20 spirits, and I had to concede because there was no way I was going to tempo him back out from there as we kept drawing. It's a good card. It's going to get better and better. And I don't ever see it becoming super broken, but a great card, and we all love it. Demeter, Fallout variant. Very nice. When you can cast this Demeter, you can enchant up to 3 to it. You can disenchant 1 Earth from it in order to give an Celestial +3 to attack, +2 defense till the end phase. So when it's a 1 cost, so it only needs 1 rune to stay on the board, but you can put up to 3 when you play it. So it can have up to 3 on it when you first play for turn. It is, like all the other Divine Runes, a great target to Nexus with. It's +3 attack, +2 defense, not usually super relevant. The best part about this card and most of the Divine Runes is they are Nexus banks first, and they have some upside second. This upside is mediocre, but being that Earth really likes the Nexus banks for Equilynx and Tectaurus and stuff, it's a good card. I think Demeter's going to see a lot of play because of Altar of Stars, Idolo stuff, Equilynx, Tectaurus. They all kind of synergize really well to make Mono Earth a nice deck, and Demeter just slots in there nicely. Next card is Scythe of Demeter. So it gives an Celestial +2/+3. When it's empowered to destroy an Celestial in battle, you can return 1 Earth from your underworld to your spirit deck, and if you have Demeter enchanted, you get 2 instead. So another good reason to play Demeter in that Mono Earth deck. Scythe of Demeter, 2/3, okay stat buff, but the best part about this card is if you have Demeter in play and you destroy something, you paid for its cost, and you have a nice stat boost. And if it sticks around, you get 2 every time you destroy something. So it's a nice little recovery in Earth. This is Earth's only spirit recovery besides Ambrosia. So I would honestly see 1 or 2 of these being played in most Earth decks because of just those, Earth, Tectaurus, tempo stuff. It's a good card. Earthquake is good. It's not, mind-blowingly great, but it destroyed an Elestral. Always a good effect. This card's always going to see some amount of play. Most likely at least a 1 of in any deck that runs Earth. Usually a 2 of, and sometimes a 3 of. It's a great card. It's a great card to splash in a deck that's, if you're not playing in Earth, Thunder, or Fire, playing like Water and Wind, there's not a lot of destroy Elestral effects in Water and Wind. You might want to splash for this. A great card. You don't lose your, action for turn. It's a rune, and you just go from there. Good card. Not much to say about it other than just, it says on the face, destroy an Elestral, which is useful. Foloi Forest, I kept talking about this, as all the stadiums are. It gives +1/+1 for each of its corresponding element. Foloi Forest is probably going to be the most played stadium because of how well it synergizes with the Earth strategy and the stat lines of Earth Elestrals. Maybe we see some Island of Aeolia, the Wind one, see play, and I think we'll see a little bit of Olympus play because Thunder doesn't have any 5s in its 1-drop slot. But I don't see Volcanic Forge and Atlantis seeing a ton of play. Foloi Forest definitely will see the most play out of all the other stadiums. And we got our Sproutyr and the rest of our Centaurbor line. So Sproutyr 3/5, which is a great stat line. And you go search your deck for an artifact, add it to your hand, which is good. Doesn't specify any kind of element, so you can run this as a splash of in any element, or you can go splash a bunch of. You can literally put one of all 6 artifacts in your deck and just go, okay, I have a bunch of Sprouters. Let me go find the one I need. It's a good card. I think it'll get better because it tutors for artifacts. So as you find better artifacts, it'll get better. Satymber is a 5/7 for 2. If you know anything about Satyember's not good, but what he does is great. So if it's empowered by an artifact, which you get with your Sproutyr that we just saw, you can Nexus Spirits from the artifact to Satymber and special send it to Centaurbor from your hand or deck. So the best part about this card is that it's special Centaurbor during combat, thus allowing your Centaurbor to attack with 5 spirits right after. So if you set up for that closeout game with Satymber, if that's your goal, Foloi Forest, Satymber into Centaurbor, once you trigger Satymber's ability, you probably just won the game. Other than that, 5/7 or meh stat, like its defense stat's okay, but it wants to attack. So it's at 5 attack. It'll probably have +2 attack from Scythe or maybe Hammer Festus, depending on what kind of deck you're running. You could run a Fire Earth deck potentially. It's meh. Its attack is meh. Its ability is great because Centaubor's great, and it can really close out like that top end Earth strategy. Other than that, I don't think it's gonna see a ton of play. But it's a fun card. Centaurbor, as just mentioned, you get this card to play with a special summon, special cast. You're golden, you probably just won the game. Let's go over Centaurbor. It's 11/15. Disenchant 1 from it to destroy a target card. Long and Foloi Forest enchanted, it can't be targeted by Invoke Runes. So you're generally going to just slap this on the board. Your opponent might not have an answer, and you just go attack you for a ton. If it lives into your next turn, which it probably will because you can't target with Invoke Runes, you go pop that, attack again. You win the game if you get Centaurbor out properly, essentially. More often than not, I should say. So it's a great card. Unfortunately, its second form of Satymber is not super strong, but it's solid. It'll do work. If you get Centaurbor out, you probably win. It's one of the best boss Elestrals in the game. If not the best, maybe Pantera's match with it. It's really strong. Girafflora is our last Earth card for the day. It's a 1/4. Again, 1/4 is okay stat lines for 1. And when you normal cast it, you can return Elestral with cost 1 from your underworld to your hand. The only reason I don't think this card's going to see out a ton of play is because Rummagem does almost the same thing. So getting a card from your underworld versus getting it from your deck, generally about equal. Except if you get it from your deck and it's a 1-cost Earth, you probably have a 3 of it or something. You just grab it back. You're only going to play Girafflora if you have a bunch of one-ofs in an Earth deck, which you don't really need to run one-ofs in an Earth deck because it's got a lot of just good synergy. It's a card that I think may see play in the future, but right now you're just going to play 3 Rummagem and a couple pandas, and you're going to use the Rummagems to go find what you need from your deck as opposed to finding it from your underworld, if that makes sense. But it is a useful card. It's just not. There's better options for it. But yeah, guys, that is the last of the Earth cards. We'll move on to our next element in the next video. So stay tuned for that. If you stayed here for almost the 25 minutes that this video is going for right now, I really appreciate that. Means you enjoyed my commentary. Just leave me a like and subscription if you haven't already. I appreciate that, and I'm trying to grow my content and all that jazz. And I'm gonna keep rambling about that. And if you don't want to give me a like or subscription, go to my channel, go into the channels that I'm subscribed to, go to any of those other guys and give them a subscription for me because they're also making great content out there and I want to see them succeed too. Other than that, you guys have a great day and I'll see you at the next video. Peace.